They thought they were dealing with an old cattleman. They didn't know they were stepping into a war zone. The sun-scorched borderlands have always kept their secrets buried deep, but some stories burn too bright to stay hidden. When the most dangerous cartel in Mexico set their sights on Iron Crown Ranch, they believed it would be an easy win. They saw an aging rancher with rough hands, gray hair, a handful of workers, and rusted farm equipment. In their eyes, it was low-hanging fruit. What they didn't see, what they couldn't possibly know, was that those weathered hands once led one of Delta Force's most covert special ops teams, and those so-called ranch hands, every single one of them was a hand-picked combat veteran. By the time the cartel realized what they were walking into, it was too late. Rhett Callahan had already flipped the script, using their own strategies against them. Over just 3 brutal days, this quiet slice of Arizona became a battlefield. 500 acres of dust and desert were transformed into a precision kill zone that would shatter the cartel's hold on the region. No air support, no high-tech weaponry, just old ranch gear, intimate knowledge of the land, and decades of tactical experience. The result? 47 cartel enforcers dead, 3 major trafficking routes obliterated, millions in drug cash seized, 0 civilian casualties. When federal agents finally arrived, they didn't just find a ranch under siege. They found a masterclass in asymmetric warfare, led by a man the world had assumed was long retired. But let's back up a bit. Before the storm hit, something felt off. A dust devil danced across the empty road to Iron Crown Ranch, tossing tumbleweeds against the gate. Rhett Callahan, leaning on a fence post, watched the third unmarked vehicle that week crawl past the edge of his land. His fingers traced fresh cuts in the wood. Someone had been testing his defenses. "Getting real popular around here," Zeke called out from the barn, his voice casual. Too casual. Only another veteran would hear the tension buried in that tone. Callahan nodded slowly, eyes locked on the SUV, tinted windows, new suspension, modified chassis. Every detail screamed cartel. "Weather's been mighty strange lately," Zeke added, now setting down his tools. "Especially at night." Rhett's reply was quiet but sharp. "Show me the south fence." They found the proof in the dirt, fresh tire tracks, boot prints in tight military formation. Someone had been mapping the land, studying movement patterns. Callahan knelt, brushing his fingers over a deep print. "Heavy load, tactical gear, these aren't border hoppers." A voice crackled through Rhett's radio. "Movement on the ridge, 3 more vehicles. Fast." Zeke and Rhett locked eyes. No panic, just shared instinct built through decades of war. They moved with deliberate calm, like 2 tired ranchers heading back to work. "Call Agent Raven," Rhett muttered. "Border Patrol needs a heads up." Zeke was already ahead of him. "She's on it," said cartel traffic spiking everywhere. "They're pushing hard. North." Dust clouds rose on the horizon. Rhett lifted the bench lid, revealing a rifle hidden beneath tools and feed bags. He hadn't fired in 20 years, but he'd never stopped preparing. "Get the non-essentials in the storm cellar. Arm the trained." Zeke gave a half smile. "Just like the old days?" "I hope not," Rhett said, chambering around. "Last time I had air support." The SUVs rolled in tight formation, black and gleaming under the sun. 8 men stepped out, their movements too precise for common thugs. Their leader wore gold chains over tactical gear. "Rhett Callahan?" he called, his tone one of practiced intimidation. "I'm Adriel Valverde. We need to talk." Rhett stepped out, playing the role of the wary rancher. "This is private land." Valverde smiled coldly. "Not anymore. The Sonora Sewer Cartel is expanding. Your land is now part of our route. We'll compensate you. Generously." "Not interested," Rhett replied, voice firm as stone. Valverde's smile didn't move. "You misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation. By sunset, this ranch belongs to us. The only choice you have is whether you leave breathing." From the corner of his eye, Rhett saw it. His people were already in place. Zeke in the hayloft, Storm behind the water tower, every veteran positioned exactly where they'd trained to be, just like the old days. "This is your last chance," Rhett warned, stalling for time as Border Patrol moved in, miles out. Valverde drew a gold-plated pistol. Perhaps a demonstration is in order. Bring the girl. Two cartel soldiers dragged forward a young woman, Dr. Arya Santos, the town physician. Their message was clear. But they had no idea what was about to hit them. Her medical bag lay scattered in the dust. They found her by the roadside, a warning wrapped in violence. She was making her rounds to the outlying ranches, Valverde said coldly, pistol pressed to her temple. Would be a shame if the only doctor for 50 miles disappeared. Dr. Arya Santos didn't flinch. But Rhett Callahan's heart beat steady, not from calm, from training. His mind calculated everything in seconds. Number of tangos, distances, firing lines, and one civilian hostage. It was textbook. He'd seen this set up 100 times. It was just another operation. Only this one was on his land. Let her go, he said flatly. This is between us. Valverde's gold smile twisted. Nothing's just between us anymore. This territory belongs to the cartel now. Everyone either cooperates or they vanish. That was his last sentence. In a split-second blur, Rhett exploded into motion, 20 years of Delta Force muscle memory snapping into place. His left hand locked Valverde's pistol, forcing it skyward, while his right elbow crushed the man's throat. The gun fired harmlessly into the air. Valverde screamed as Rhett dislocated his trigger finger with a brutal twist. Gunshots cracked like thunder. From every shadow, his team opened fire with ruthless precision. Two cartel soldiers dropped before they even raised their weapons. Rhett hit the dirt behind a tractor, drawing his concealed sidearm. "Doc, down!" he shouted. Arya dove as the courtyard erupted in controlled chaos. Rhett's first shot punched through the skull of a shooter lining up on the hayloft. His second clipped a flanker circling toward Zeke's perch. Every move was surgical. Throat, eye socket, joints in the armor. No wasted bullets, no wasted motion. "Just like Kandahar," Zeke shouted over the gunfire, his rifle dropping another target. "Kandahar had better weather," Rhett grunted, sweeping forward through the dust and blood. The last remaining cartel men dragged their unconscious commander and scrambled back to their vehicles. Engines roared, tires screamed. They vanished into the horizon, leaving 3 bodies in the courtyard and their pride in pieces. 30 seconds. That's all it took. Rhett helped Arya to her feet as the sirens approached. "You okay, Doc?" She nodded, breath steady, eyes clearing. "Thanks to you, they weren't expecting that." "No," Rhett said, watching the ridgeline, "but they will be now." Agent Lissa Raven's SUV crested the rise just as Rhett's team finished securing the area. Her boots crunched over shell casings as she walked into what looked like a war zone. She didn't need to ask what happened. The evidence spoke for itself. 3 dead cartel men, perfect shot placement, tight formations. Scattered weapons like discarded toys. Still, she asked, "Want to tell me what went down?" Rhett handed Arya a water bottle before replying. "They came to buy the ranch, didn't like my answer. Left in a hurry." Lissa scanned the scene, narrowing her eyes at the symmetry. 3 dead, 4 wounded by my count, and those shots, mighty precise for a cattle rancher. Rhett gave a slow shrug. "Grew up hunting." Lissa's gaze hardened. "Must have been some really small targets. Most hunters don't double-tap center mass." Zeke emerged from the perimeter, rifle slung casually. "All clear, boss. Storm's watching the ridge. No movement since they bolted." Lissa wasn't buying the act. "You're running a very professional operation out here for a place that raises beef." Rhett looked south toward the horizon. "Had to adapt. Border's been getting mean lately." She nodded grimly. "And it's about to get meaner." From her jacket, she pulled a photo. Valverde. That wasn't just any cartel enforcer. That was Adriel Valverde, regional commander for the Sonora Sewer Cartel. He doesn't make house calls unless there's something big coming. Arya joined them, now composed, her medical kit back in order. "They're hitting every border ranch," she said. "I've treated 3 families this month. Beatings, warnings. But Iron Crown's the last holdout." Lissa looked at the land as if seeing it for the first time. Strategic location, high ground, visibility across 3 valleys, clear sight lines to the border, natural choke points. This place was chosen. Whoever planned this knew exactly what they were doing. Then the radio crackled. "Movement on the South Ridge," Storm reported. 5 vehicles. Looks like they're setting up surveillance. "They'll be back," Rhett said, jaw tight. "Stronger, smarter." "I can get Border Patrol here in 30 minutes, Lissa offered. "They'll be gone in 20, Rhett replied, eyes on the dust cloud in the distance. "And next time, they won't knock." "I'll contact Sheriff Nash," she said quickly. "Won't help," Rhett answered, flat and final. "This is above local law enforcement. They're not equipped." "And you are?" she challenged. Rhett didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Arya. "You should leave. It's about to get complicated." She shook her head. "I'm the only doctor between here and Sierra Vista. If it's getting complicated, you need me here." Before he could reply, Zeke returned, face tight. "Boss, you're gonna want to see this." They followed him to the south fence. Fresh tire tracks, disturbed earth, stakes in the ground, surveyor tape. Rhett knelt, brushing dust from a marker. His expression darkened. "They're not just scouting trafficking routes." He looked up. "They're building." Now they understood why the cartel was pushing so hard. It wasn't just about controlling a border, it was infrastructure, the foundation for something much bigger. "This explains the escalation," Lissa muttered, snapping photos of the surveyor stakes. "This isn't some scattered op, it's a full-scale operation. Your ranch, it's the last piece." Dr. Santos nodded grimly. "Every other property in this valley? Bought out or bullied into silence. Iron Crown is the final holdout." Rhett's tactical mind processed the implications like a battlefield simulation. This had been in motion for months, slow, deliberate, and well-funded. Lissa pulled more photos from a file. "We've seen activity increasing. We just couldn't prove a cartel link, until now." A distant engine growled. Through his scope, Storm spotted a new vehicle. Sleek, expensive, diplomatic plates gleaming in the heat. "Looks official," he radioed. "One driver, one passenger, moving slow, careful." Rhett paused, then nodded. "Let them through." The SUV rolled to a stop, a respectful distance from the house. A man in an expensive suit stepped out, every move calculated, hands visible, voice smooth. "Mr. Callahan, I represent certain business interests. After this morning's unfortunate event, we're hoping for a more civilized resolution." "Not interested," Rhett replied, his voice firm and final. $10 million, the man offered. Cash, untraceable. You could disappear, live anywhere. Rhett didn't blink. "Already retired. This is my anywhere." For a brief moment, the man's polished demeanor cracked. "Surely you understand your position. The cartel always gets what it wants. The only question is the cost." Rhett stepped forward. "Then understand this. Your cartel lost 3 men this morning trying to take my land. That's expensive. Walking away, that's free." The smile vanished. "You have 24 hours to reconsider," the man said coldly. "After that, the price becomes prohibitive." They watched the SUV vanish into the desert. "They're not bluffing," Lissa said quietly. "Neither am I," Rhett replied. He turned to Zeke. "Get everyone back to the house. It's time to adapt and overcome." Inside, the ranch house became a war room. Satellite maps spread across the dining table. Around it, Rhett's core team, Storm, Zeke, and the other former soldiers disguised as ranch hands, gathered like it was 2002 again. "They'll test us first," Rhett said, drawing on the map. "See how fast we respond. Look for weak spots. Then they'll hit hard, coordinated, multiple angles." "Just like old times," Storm muttered, "except no air support." "We've got something better," Rhett replied, tapping the map. "Home field advantage." Dr. Santos looked from face to face. "You're really going to fight the entire cartel?" "No," Rhett answered, eyes like steel. "We're going to make them fight us. That's different." "They'll have numbers," Zeke warned. "Military training, better weapons." "Which means they'll think like soldiers," Rhett said. "Soldiers we can predict." Lissa had been silent, watching it all unfold. Finally, she spoke. "You're not just some rancher who saw action. Are you? Does it matter?" "It might," she said. "Helps me decide whether to report this or help." Rhett studied her for a long moment. Ever hear of Operation Phantom Strike? Her eyes widened slightly. That mission that crippled the Medellin cartel in 02? That's still classified. Parts of it, Rhett said. The part about a small team eliminating 50 cartel soldiers using terrain and tactics, that's the part that worked. That was you? Doesn't matter, Rhett said. What matters is, it's about to happen again. So, you reporting? Or helping? She didn't answer with words. She started marking response routes on the map. Border patrols stretch thin, she said. Best case response, 20 minutes. You'll be on your own. Story of my life, Rhett said, then turned to his men. We've got 24 hours. Let's make them count. They worked through the night, transforming Iron Crown Ranch into a fortress. Every piece of farm equipment became a weapon or shield. Every patch of land was mapped, repurposed, reinforced. In the storm cellar, Dr. Santos turned it into a makeshift field hospital. Trauma kits, IVs, bandages. Try not to need them, she said softly. Observation posts were set, triggers placed, lines of fire calculated. By dawn, the ranch had become a battlefield disguised as a home. On the porch, Rhett stood quietly, watching the heat shimmer on the horizon. You built quite a team, Lissa said, joining him. Almost like you were expecting this. Sometimes, Rhett said, checking his weapon with calm efficiency, the past doesn't stay in the past. Sometimes, it comes looking for a rematch. As the sun broke the horizon, muzzle flashes lit the ridgeline. The first shots had come. Cartel marksmen tested the ranch's outer defenses, bullets cracking off reinforced steel and angled cover. Rhett watched through his scope. 4 shooters on the ridge, he muttered. 2 more in the northern brush. Military grade. No more negotiations. Storm's voice crackled over the radio. South Valley, movement, vehicle column. Looks like their main force. Zeke's voice followed. Modified harvesters in position, ready to go. They won't see it coming. Through high-powered optics, Rhett spotted them. 3 armored SUVs, 1 tactical truck, all moving in military formation. Efficient, clean, confident, too confident. They'll have civilians, Rhett reminded his team. Watch your fire, no collateral. In the cellar, Dr. Santos monitored her gear. Her eyes didn't flinch, but her voice was soft. We're ready. Let's hope we don't need it. The convoy reached the first checkpoint. Rhett's finger hovered over the radio. Zeke, now! The trap had sprung. A modified tractor frame welded into a mobile barricade, roared to life and slammed across the dirt road. The cartel convoy swerved, right into a natural kill zone. Their elite training kicked in instantly, and that was the problem. They reacted with textbook precision, exactly what Rhett Callahan had counted on. They're deploying east, Storm called over the radio. Just like I said, Rhett replied, steady as ever. Professionals are predictable. Professionals are manageable. From the vehicles, the first wave emerged. Tight formations, military weapons, sharp hand signals. Not amateurs. These were ex-Mexican special forces, now working for whoever paid the most. Their squad leader barked orders in rapid-fire shorthand. Storm, Rhett said calmly. Light it up. The detonation shook the valley. Remote charges hidden beneath sand and brush reshaped the battlefield in an instant. The explosion didn't just injure, it channeled. It herded the enemy right into Rhett's next move. They're clustering at Point Charlie, Zeke reported. Execute! Gunfire erupted from every direction. Hidden firing nests came to life as Rhett's team, combat veterans all, unleashed surgical precision. Every shot hit home. The cartel's numbers meant nothing when their formations moved exactly where Rhett wanted them. Then chaos. Vehicle 3's breaking formation, Storm radioed. They're trying to flank west. Let them, Rhett muttered, eyes on the scope. He found the lead driver's face through the glass and squeezed the trigger. The round shattered the SUV's command center. The vehicle jerked violently, blocking its own reinforcements. The cartel's coordination fell apart. They're calling in heavy weapons, Agent Raven warned, intercepting comms. Technical, 50 cal on a mount, 3 minutes out. Perfect, Rhett said, shifting to a new vantage. Time for Phase 2. A thunderous roar announced the arrival of the Technical, a makeshift armored truck with a mounted .50 caliber machine gun. The weapon unleashed hell across the valley, but it hit nothing. Rhett's people stayed low, invisible in reinforced cover. "Hold," Rhett ordered. "Let them commit." The truck surged forward, its crew emboldened by the lack of resistance. Behind it, more cartel troops advanced in step by step, right into the trap. Now! With a scream of metal, a modified tractor, reinforced and weaponized, smashed into the Technical, flipping it sideways before the gunner could even react. Explosives beneath the flanking vehicles roared to life, blowing out tires and engines. "4 vehicles down," Storm reported, satisfaction clear in his voice. 11 tangos eliminated. No casualties. "They're not done," Rhett replied, scanning the horizon. That was just the opening act. As if on cue, new silhouettes appeared in the distance. These weren't SUVs. They were armored personnel carriers, painted black, cartel emblems stenciled on the sides. "Where the hell did they get APCs?" Raven asked. "Bought them," Rhett said flatly. "And the crews to run them, probably ex-military. Contractors." "Can we handle armor?" "Already planned for it." Rhett switched radio channels. "Zeke, commence Operation Harvest Moon." Zeke's grin was audible. "Copy that. Let's show them what ranch equipment can really do." The APCs rolled forward in perfect formation, flanking each other, covering blind spots. Clean, coordinated, deadly. But they weren't ready for adaptive warfare. Not like this. "Watch closely," Rhett said to Raven. "This is a masterclass." A flurry of modified machinery struck from multiple angles. Reinforced farming tools became anti-armor weapons, harrows rigged with shaped charges, plows converted into barricades, silos concealing explosive payloads, and in the middle of it all, one APC's track snapped clean off, immobilized. Another drove straight into a concealed trench, perfectly measured for its size. "Beautiful," Rhett whispered as controlled chaos erupted. "Storm Phase 3. Sharpshooters eliminated exposed crew with surgical accuracy. Shaped charges breached hulls. The cartel's million-dollar war machines became metal coffins. "They're retreating," Storm confirmed. "Vehicles burning. Ground full of bodies. We broke their line." "That's gonna hurt their budget," Raven muttered. "Good," Rhett answered. "Hurt their wallet enough. Someone starts asking questions at the top." Dr. Santos emerged from the cellar, her bag ready. "Anyone hurt?" Zeke shook his head. "Only the tractors." "No hits?" she asked, surprised. "Not one," he smiled. "They will next time," Rhett said, eyes still locked on the southern ridge. "How much worse can it get?" Raven asked, and instantly regretted it. The low hum of rotor blades rolled in like a warning from the sky. Through the scope, Rhett spotted them. Military-grade helicopters bearing no national insignia. "These aren't Cartel," Raven said sharply. "These are private military contractors." "They're escalating," Rhett confirmed. "They're bringing in professionals." Raven's face darkened. This just became a different war. Rhett exhaled slowly, mentally calculating new fire zones and fallback positions. "No, this became the kind of war I spent 20 years mastering. If you're still with us, you know the story's not over. The cartel has money, machines, and mercenaries. But Rhett Callahan has something they'll never understand. A home worth fighting for, and a team that already walked through hell and came back smarter. Smash that subscribe button if you want the next chapter, because the sky's about to fall and old soldiers don't run. They dig in. "Boss, you need to see this." Storm's voice crackled over the radio. Drone footage appeared on the screen, revealing sweeping cartel movements all along the border. Convoys, infantry teams, heavy equipment. It wasn't a raid anymore. It was a mobilization. "They're committing everything," Storm muttered. "Good," Rhett replied, his eyes calm. "Means they're committing resources and making mistakes." Raven wasn't convinced. "Those aren't mistakes. That's an overwhelming advantage." "Only if you're thinking like a conventional soldier," Rhett said, already sketching new plans across a satellite map. "Let's give them a lesson in unconventional warfare." The beat of rotor blades cut through the air like warning drums. 4 Blackhawks circled Iron Crown Ranch like vultures, kicking up dust and tension with every pass. "Not Cartel," Storm confirmed, tracking their approach. "Gears too clean, movements too tight. Special Forces level coordination." "Russian or South African contractors," Rhett said, analyzing their spacing. "That's Spetsnaz playbook, Moscow style. Controlled descent pattern, high discipline insert." Raven checked her tablet. "No transponders, no flight plans filed. These birds are ghosts, just like we used to run in Black Ops." "Zeke," Rhett said over comms, "condition red." "They'll fast rope multiple teams." "Already got a surprise waiting," Zeke replied. "Remember that trick from Mogadishu? Do it." The first helicopter made its insertion run. Ropes dropped. Heavily armed mercenaries readied for descent. That's when it happened. A modified irrigation system, once used to water the fields, suddenly roared to life. High-pressure water jets blasted the fast ropes mid-air, twisting them violently, knocking elite contractors off balance as they fought not enemies, but physics. "Oldest trick in the book," Rhett said to Raven. "You can't fast rope through a water cannon." The choppers adjusted, changing insertion points with clockwork precision. Their pilots were seasoned. They avoided the kill zones, landed hard but safe. But now, they were reacting, and reacting meant losing initiative. "2 birds down hard west," Storm called. "Looks like they're heavy weapons teams." "Perfect," Rhett replied, already shifting to intercept. "They landed exactly where we wanted them." The mercenaries deployed with crisp, brutal efficiency. Multiple squads fanned out, coordinating through encrypted comms. Fire teams advanced with expert caution. "These guys aren't amateurs," Storm said. "Combat vets, fire discipline, small unit tactics." "So are we," Rhett answered. "Execute prairie fire." The ground lit up again. Pre-planted explosives shattered cover. Farm machinery, modified into mobile barricades, shifted positions, herding the contractors like cattle through prepared funnels. Suddenly, the terrain turned against them. Dirt became trap, elevation became disadvantage. Captured radio chatter cut through the noise. Heavy Russian accent. "Contact front." "They're using guided fire," Raven noted. "They're trained." "Professional." "They're not fighting farmers," Rhett muttered, squeezing the trigger and dropping the mercenaries' comms officer. "It's time they learned who they're really up against." The firefight evolved into a brutal chess match. The mercenaries moved smart, tight angles, smart spacing, layered suppression. But Rhett had already read this book. He anticipated their next steps, laying traps in real time, guiding his people through an invisible maze. "They're pushing north," Raven warned. Rhett's mind raced. "No, they're pushing us north, away from something." His scope locked on the southern perimeter. New vehicles, civilian trucks, loaded with construction gear. "They're building," he realized. "While their mercs pin us down, the cartel's trying to break ground." "Storm," he called. "Shift fire south. Do not let them start digging." "I can't," Storm replied, frustration rising. "Heavy weapons teams have us pinned. These guys know what they're doing." Then it got worse. A low thrum shook the earth. A helicopter gunship emerged over the ridge. Guns hot, sensors locked, weapon systems spinning. "Everyone down!" Rhett barked. The gunship opened fire. Cannons tore through their positions, shredding cover, kicking up earth and splinters like shrapnel. "We're taking casualties," Dr. Santos's voice shouted through the comms. "3 wounded in the barn." "I can't reach them without cover." "I'm a little busy over here," Zeke snapped, pinned by relentless fire. "I'll go," Raven said, checking her weapon. "I did combat medicine with the Marines. I know what to do." "Wait for my signal," Rhett ordered. The gunship circled again for another attack run, but this time they were ready. Farm equipment turned war machines fired back, makeshift rockets built from fertilizer, metal tubes, and precision chemistry. The blast didn't down the bird, but it forced it off course, disrupting its aim. That was all Raven needed. She sprinted low and fast, weaving through cover while Santos guided her over radio. Together, they stabilized the wounded under a hail of indirect fire, 2 combat veterans keeping lives intact in the middle of hell. Multiple teams breaching the perimeter, Storm called out. We're getting overlapped. Fall back to secondary, Rhett ordered. Draw them in. The mercenaries moved with lethal grace, scanning every angle for traps, but there were too many. Their commander adjusted formations, keeping his men in tight rotations, communicating through encrypted channels with practiced confidence. These weren't cartel gunmen, they were warfighters. And now, they were on Rhett Callahan's land. If you've made it this far, you know this war just hit a new level. Private military contractors, gunships, asymmetric traps, and the last holdout ranch standing in the cartel's way. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for the next chapter, because next time they'll bring armor, satellites, and cyber warfare. And Rhett? He's still got a few tricks left in the dirt. Want to keep going? Ready for Phase 4? Rhett's ranch wasn't just land, it was a trap 20 years in the making. When cartel soldiers and private mercenaries attacked with military precision, Rhett's team responded with battlefield cunning, using modified farm equipment, hidden charges, and terrain control to turn the land into a kill zone. Every mercenary movement was predicted, every countermeasure ready. They thought they were fighting farmers, but they were facing Delta veterans trained for asymmetric warfare. When helicopters arrived with elite contractors using Spetsnaz tactics, Rhett's crew deployed water cannons to disrupt their fast rope entries and turned barns into electrified traps. The attackers adapted, but that only confirmed Rhett's theory. This wasn't just a cartel raid, it was the first wave of a larger operation. Then came the real threat: armored vehicles, bioengineered bullets, and infiltrators with badges. The cartel had corrupted local law enforcement and brought in federal contractors. But Rhett had proof: documents, surveillance, and blood samples, linking it all to illegal genetic weapon programs buried years ago by shadow agencies. Storm, one of his team, was hit. But his immune system didn't just survive the engineered bacteria. It adapted, creating antibodies that could neutralize the weapon. That made him the target. As CIA-backed units, Russian Spetsnaz cleaners, and corrupted federal forces closed in, Rhett triggered his real plan: let them expose themselves. Storm's enhanced immunity became a living beacon. Their enemies, desperate for proof their experiments worked, broke all rules to capture him, deploying illegal weapons, destroying evidence, targeting civilians. And every move was recorded by international observers and Rhett's team. The truth spread faster than the virus. Mutations in survivors became genetic evidence. Military gunships refused to obey corrupt orders. The CDC confirmed weaponized agents. United Nations observers secured crime scenes. CIA teams, exposed and desperate, released unstable bioweapons that only accelerated their downfall. In the end, it wasn't firepower that won, it was exposure. The entire system that developed and tested bioweapons on civilians collapsed under the weight of its own crimes. As the sun rose over Shadow Gulch, the battlefield transformed into a courtroom of truth. Storm's sacrifice became a cure. Rhett's 20-year mission became justice. And the cartel, the agencies, and every hidden hand behind them learned the same lesson. Sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't what you fight with. It's what your enemies reveal trying to stop you.